Good Friday morning. Turning now to our weather and starting off with a quick look back at yesterday's almanac for Tucson. We hit a high temperature of 55 degrees, 11 degrees below normal, and a low of 34. And that wasn't actually in the morning. That was in the late evening, right before midnight, because those temperatures dropped behind the cold front yesterday. We picked up a trace of rainfall at the airport, and Mount Lemmon, at least in Summerhaven, picked up about an additional 3 inches of snowfall yesterday. So now that that cold front is off to our east, really the coldest, most active area is the plains over into the Great Lakes region for the next several days. Here locally, our temperatures warm back up into the mid to upper 60s this weekend. So that's closer to our climate normals. And then heading into next week, this Arctic air continues to surge through the middle part of the country into the east side as well. And while that happens, it's that seesaw effect where they're super duper cold and we have a ridge of high pressure over us here in the desert Southwest. That's going to send our highs back into the lower 70s by the middle part of next week. But in the meantime, as you wake up and step out the door this morning, most of us are in the 20s and 30s. Low 30s in Tucson, Green Valley, Marana, 27 in Sierra Vista, 21 in Douglas. It's 18 degrees in Portal and 21 in Wilcox this morning. Satellite and radar, all is dried. We just had some clouds pass through overnight. Those have since pushed off to the east, and we are expecting mostly sunny skies for your Friday. Hour by hour forecast for today. Temperatures will still be slow to warm behind yesterday's system. Temperatures in the 40s by lunchtime. Highs for most of us top out in the 50s this afternoon, and then overnight lows tonight will be dipping back down to the 20s and 30s. So many of us will continue to flirt with that freezing mark by early Saturday morning. But then we are expecting those temperatures to warm back up. So this weekend, expect highs in the mid 60s for Saturday, upper 60s for Sunday. Could see some cloud cover Saturday night into Sunday morning, but all in all, beautiful weather for your weekend plans. A low on Saturday night of 38 degrees. We do dip back down to the upper 30s for Sunday. We have a passing system off to our north, so that could shave off a couple of degrees, maybe give us some breezy conditions come Monday, but we are looking to stay dry. A few more clouds around by next Tuesday and Wednesday, 68 degrees Tuesday, and there are those lower 70s Wednesday and Thursday. In fact, that trend likely will continue through the rest of next week and into the weekend. So if you're not a fan of these super cold temperatures, certainly something to look forward to in that 7-day forecast.